Welcome to Building My Wealth podcast, which is really about having professionals like yourself talk to everyday average people and try to help them build wealth. And building wealth sometimes is real estate, sometimes it's finances, sometimes there's a lot of stuff that's about building wealth.
Exactly.
So I'm here with Natalie Vancardo, real estate agent. And tell me about the brokerage first.
So I'm a part of Berkshire Hathaway, and then I am the team lead of the Nat and 8 real estate team.
Very cool.
Yes.
And how are you finding the...
I switched brokerages in July last year, and it was a really easy transition for me because everything they're offering was what I was looking. I wanted more of a boutique experience for my clients, and we're right in the heart of downtown Oakville, which is kind of where I wanted to be. So it was a really easy switch for our team. And I'm just surrounded by really good people, which helps.
You know, I love downtown Oakville. I used to actually work at the library down here.
Yes.
And I used to come up and down these streets all the time. And so I'm somewhat familiar with trying to park down here. But it just kind of brings me back to my IT library days. Really have too much with the Dewey Decimal, but reports. Oh my goodness, reports. Anyway, love downtown Oakville. And you know what? Even though it's a super nice place, can be a big expensive, I'm sure it's lots great places to buy for first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And you were telling me, but there's some creative ways. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do for our clientele is to get them to kind of think outside the box of purchasing their first property. So we're finding that a lot of first-time home buyers, they kind of have that one-track mind of, I want to buy my house, I'm going to move into it, and kind of start from there, where their block is that properties are a lot more expensive, and it's harder to qualify, as you know.
Yes.
So we're trying to get them to think creatively in the forms of either teaming up with people, starting really small. If you're teaming up with people, you may be able to get more capital, but you may not even be moving into the first property that you're purchasing. It could be first, let's buy an investment, have tenants move into that, build up my capital from there, take equity out, and then put it onto another property and kind of copy, paste, repeat for a couple of times until you can get to that one house that is your dream home.
I'm finding a lot of clients have been a hard time with that idea because, they're getting their parents' help and they're getting a lot of their parents' opinion, but a lot of those parents' opinions are, how should I say, outdated?
Yes.
Just very,
no, that's a fair way.
Not with the times. And just to get them out of that mindset of you're not buying your forever home, you're buying a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to get your foot in the door. And I always feel like once you get that foot in the door, it's the hurdle is getting the foot in the door. Once you've done that, no matter how it's done, then it's easy to stay in.
Exactly. And I find it's already overwhelming that if you don't have experience purchasing real estate, there's a lot of new lingo, a lot of new terminology, new things to think about. Aligning yourself with a good mortgage broker that explains all that, plus someone that's going to explain the whole buying process, and then just giving you different ideas that you can tap into. Like you said, coming from parents that are, I believe they're baby boomers. I want to say my parents are baby boomers. But coming from that generation where they bought one home and they kind of lived in it and it just appreciated over the however long they had it, that's kind of not what our clients are facing nowadays.
Yeah.
So they're going to have several moves to get to that big home. And it's just how to get them there either faster or smoother. And then maybe if they are thinking about buying in real estate, but their equity is very low, how we can help them kind of grow their portfolio in different ways.
Yeah, speaking about the building the equity, I mean, I know a lot of people try to get their parents involved where they're like, well, you know what, just borrow money out of your place. But sometimes that's not always an option. And then, how should I say it? The mindset just stops right there and they don't want to go any further. And I feel like you've got this wealth of ideas for people to kind of think outside the box of, hey, there's more ways to get into the market besides mom and dad. I'm sure they're a great source. The multifamily idea, that's a great one because there's lots of duplexes, triplexes, and stuff like that. All can contribute the mortgage. Like what number of units you have, the number of families you have, and the ways you, and let's say it's duplex, you have two families, you divide everything in two, and you stay there for X number of years. That's what I'm envisioning. Yeah,
the opportunities are endless. So even if you're staying at home or you're living at home with your parents and you buy a property, you don't have to move into it. I know a lot of people just want to get out on their own.
Yeah.
We've even helped people who are currently renting. So they bought a property. Instead of them moving into that property, they continued renting because the rent was low. And then they purchased a property, found renters to go in there, and they're building their equity that way. So they're keeping their monthly costs low, renting their current property, letting that equity build. And then in 5 years' time, when their mortgage is up for renewal, we're going to relook at their situation, probably sell the home for them, and then get them, if at that point everything looks a little bit better for them, we're probably going to move them up to a different type of property that they could actually move into.
Well, that's a really nice idea because that way you
Yeah.
don't have to partner up with a different family.
Yes.
I've heard of people doing that.
The multi-generation. Yes.
Like in my head, if it was like a triplex,
Yep.
then that makes sense because every family or every family unit has their own individual space.
Yep.
And then if it's a triplex, then you divide it by 3. 3 units, 3 families, 3 ways, right? It makes sense to me. But this one particular family that I have in the back of my head,
Yep.
so it was just big one unit, but it was very cozy from what I understand.
If they could all live together without having any issues, that's kudos to them. Back in Italy, that's how they used to do it. Like our families would have a building and each generation would kind of have their own floor. So everybody was there to help raise each other, which is nice. Here, we're seeing that kind of come back where you have many generations of families living under one roof. And so there's that aspect. My thought is if you are a first-time home buyer and you don't have a bank of mom and dad, or you have a couple of groups of friends that want to purchase together, yes, you have the option of all buying together and living together, or totally take yourselves out of it, buy that as an investment, make that as your kind of your little equity hub.
Yeah.
You all have shares, you all have a say, create a timeline, chatting with a mortgage broker like yourself of different ways of how to fund the project as well. So yeah, there's the possibilities are endless, but it's just sitting down, having a really good out of box kind of brain session and seeing what their goals, what their not just today's goals of I want to buy my first house, but where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? And then how can we get you there?
Exactly. But you know what? No matter what step they take, I think everyone needs to keep in mind that you're only as strong in your mortgage application as your weakest link. Mm-hmm. So if everyone has strong credit except for one, well, guess what? Everything's going to be based on that one person's credit score. No matter what people decide, each person who's going to be on that mortgage application, who's going to be on title, needs to continuously work on their credit. I mean, that's a huge thing. And I think a lot of people don't realize the significance of that.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of lenders who are more than happy and understand that the climate has changed a lot and are willing to look at these multifamily type of situations or even multiple groups all buying a house together, multi-unit house or even the rental situation. That scenario, though I've actually heard about it many times, and it's becoming more and more of a thing.
Yep.
And lenders are more and more open to it. But again, everyone's got to work on their own credit and income. And that plays a huge part in what doors can be opened up for them.
So you help a lot of people, though, with improving their credit. Because I know a lot of the times we've chatted, you have like different things in place where you help people improve their credit. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because you have some good ideas.
I do like a lot of little videos on TikTok and stuff like that where I say, hey, top way to improve your credit, top 3 ways to improve your credit, stuff like that. Also have like an online webinar where I actually talk about how to improve your credit. It's not very focused. So anyone who's like new to having credit for the first time, it's good for them. Or even if it's someone who is struggling, they're kind of plateaued at 600 and they can't seem to get any higher. It literally goes over step by step of how to improve your credit. And then one of the tips is I love because it's autopilot.
Yeah.
You just set it up and you don't even have to do anything. You just it goes on
Set it
autopilot.
and forget it.
But you have to go on the online webinar to hear it.
Yeah, so go get Juanita's webinar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And credit plays such a huge part in everyone's mortgage application.
So how many months would it take for someone that has the weakest credit in the group, if they're trying to do a group share or weakest credit in general? How many months with your planning do you think they could improve their credit?
Depends what the issue is.
Yeah.
A lot of times what the issue is they're just not paying their bills on time. So let's say the bill says that it's due on the 5th, okay?
Yeah.
So they go to the bank, make a payment, or online or however they want to do it. They go on the 5th and do it. Well, guess what? The institution that they're actually paying, it may take 3 days. The institution that is owed money may not get it to the 8th. So therefore it's late.
Yeah.
You know what? If someone was to start paying all their bills on time, probably within first 3 months, they would see a significant jump in their credit score just by paying the bills on time. People are kind of like, that's not true. I'm like, yeah, it is true.
Try
Very
it.
true.
What was the most amount of people that you've seen on title? I have a number in my head for what I've seen.
I don't know.
I had 8. 8. So when I was writing an offer, there was 8 people on title, and I had to write everybody's name and get 8 different signatures, that was crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Thank God it was through the DocuSign era, which is fairly new. So they all can get DocuSigned it, but yeah, 8.
I think for me it was like 4.
Yeah. 4's
Still,
not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. 8's pretty bad.
Now, when they hit a certain number, do you think it'd be more favorable through lenders if they had it incorporated?
Well, if you're just buying one house, no.
Okay.
When you start to get incorporated, then it becomes more of a commercial thing. Then you're out of the residential lending space.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a commercial, chances are you're dealing with more than one property. Because normally, if someone is dealing with lots of properties, then you're going to want to do a hold.
Holdco?
Yes, that's it. Or you become incorporated. But when it's just, if you're just buying a unit, whether it's building your equity, whether it's to live in, and you're just having 1 or 2 units, just a few people, chances are you don't need that sort of thing because you're living it. Once you're not living in it and you got like maybe a couple units, maybe starting looking at a holdco might be the better way to go. Because that way there's probably a bit more structure internally for you guys for that. For the intent of our conversation of the first time home buyer, you want to buy your first home, but you can't rely on mom and dad and you want to get your foot in the door, various ways to do this, that's going beyond the scope.
Yeah. Okay.
Wouldn't even bother.
Yeah.
Even if you did have like 8 people, so you have, what's beyond a triplex, a fourplex? No, yeah, I guess it
Well,
would
if you
be.
have 8 people and you have 2 people in every unit,
Exactly.
then it's a 4-plex.
Yeah, fourplex.
Yeah.
So even if you had a fourplex, you had 4 families, you still wouldn't do a hold code because they're all living there.
Yeah.
Or even if 3 of them lived there and 2 of them didn't, you still wouldn't because somebody is living there is the point.
Do you have any tips of how to formulate it if they have more than one person, more than a joint venture of 2 people on title? Do you have an idea of how we could formulate that easier for them?
I mean, when it comes to a mortgage application, it's really based on credit and income. Let's say the income is going to be your own personal income or income in the form of rental.
So because we're seeing a lot of people lend from the bank of mom and dad,
Yes.
some of the parents actually want to be on title
Yes.
or they're co-signing for their children. Can you tell us a little bit about how that affects lending?
They just show up on title. So any person's name that shows up on title, their income and credit score and whatever loans they have will affect the application.
Yeah.
So it's just basically, even if they co-sign, they're literally just another applicant on the mortgage application. So let's say they have great income coming in, but they owe a ton of money, then that comes into play of how much can be borrowed. Because as far as the bank or any lender is concerned, if you have 3 parties signing up for this mortgage application, so if you have 3 people signing on and the one person has other loans, the idea is, can they still maintain those other loans plus the new loan that they're applying for? That's the question. So that's how that parent coming on affects that mortgage application. So the kids might be fine in that they don't owe anything. They have a little bit of down payment. They have a little bit of everything. But the parent's on there because they don't quite make enough. And dad, let's say, makes tons of money.
Yeah.
But if he owes tons of money,
That's going to affect them.
yes, it all plays a part. I mean, and let's say the parent's coming on because the kids do not have good credit, then he's probably coming on as a guarantor. And therefore, a lot of his information is not quite needed and he's not on title. So the application's based on the numbers, based on the kids, but the parent is coming on to say, if anything goes wrong, I will jump in there.
Yeah.
That's his role as the guarantor. So besides doing a rental, multi-family,
Yeah.
God forbid anyone does the multiple family in a single home. I only saw that once and not as a mortgage agent. This was before I became a mortgage agent. I heard of this. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it. I couldn't live with my parents or in-laws for that long. No.
No, it was a group of friends.
Oh, well, power to them. Sometimes it works.
It didn't work for my friend.
It didn't work.
One family unit had left, acquaintance that I knew, came in. They only lasted like a year. They left because they couldn't handle it. And at least they tried.
Yeah. So like my thought is if we have a group of young adults trying to buy together and they're thinking of living in it, then be more realistic about the time frame. Like maybe you're not doing a 5-year, maybe you're doing a 2 or 3, because within that time You'll see how you guys are living together and that sort of thing. And you want to make sure that you guys can easily break your mortgage opposed to kind of being locked in for 5 years.
And I would almost think they would want to see a lawyer and get
Of course.
a habitat. There's a word for it.
Cohabitation agreement.
Yes. I'm thinking they would need something like that.
Yes, absolutely. All of these things you definitely need to have some sort of lawyer documentation. And in case somebody says like, I can't pay anymore, I've lost my job, what does that scenario look like? Or if one person wants to sell before everybody else. So you need to kind of weigh all these decisions beforehand and have a real life conversation, which sometimes can be uncomfortable, especially if you're dealing with friends. But if you are thinking about pooling in together to buy a property, these are conversations you need to have now before you make that purchase. And then another way is just starting small. So just go with the condo that you can afford. It may not be pretty. It may have tons of things broken in it, not be in the best of areas, but at least you're starting small and slow and then build up and build up and build up.
I mean, we always forget about that one, but that is like, even the boomers had to do that.
Yes, they did.
And
Yeah.
everyone seems to have forgotten about that.
And you know what? Those are like the best, fondest memories of like, oh my God, do you remember when we started out? We had this little shack that we had and it didn't have this wonky door, whatever it was. So don't think of, I know we get caught up on Instagram and everything needs to be perfect nowadays. A lot of the time when you're trying to start small, you're going to struggle a little bit to get to where you want to be. And just know that those are regular growing pains and there's no shame in that. But yeah, just keep your vision in mind, have that plan, and that will take you through.
Yes, and I think so many people have forgotten about that or just don't have that attitude. I remember dealing with one person and in his mind, he wanted to buy something that was completely resellable. Like he wanted to buy it, do a little touch-ups, live in it for a while, and then resell it and then buy another one. I mean, it's a lofty idea. Mm-hmm. And he had most of the down payment, but income-wise, I mean, he was making great money, but income-wise, he could not afford the size of the mortgage that was entailed. And then trying to explain to him that, you know, you need a co-signer.
Yeah.
The parents were like, oh, yeah, we have no... I had to explain to them, you are co-signing to this. If something should happen to him, you are responsible. I mean, it could mean selling the property or whatever. Yeah. And then, you know, once that kind of sunk in a bit, the brakes were like totally put on hold. And then now they were trying to talk to him about, maybe you should buy something a little bit more within your price range. We could back you up for however you need to back up.
Yeah.
If you're only able to qualify based on your income plus your father's income or your mom or whoever, it's not going to work. And I was trying to, because I knew that they were not on the same page and he was not communicating this to his parents.
Yeah.
And his parents were understanding something completely different. I hate to see him not get the house of his dreams, but at the same time.
No, you don't want to be house poor. That's the one thing that we always talk about with our clients too. Is we don't want you to, like, especially when you're buying your first home, there's a lot of expenses that come with that. We don't want you to move in and then you cannot afford anything else other than just one property and your bills. So you want to still make sure you can have a quality of life. So factor in beforehand what you like to do as your hobbies, you like to travel, whatever it is, and then create your budget from that point of view as well. So it's a lot of it of hard conversations that you'll have with your mortgage broker. We do this all the time, but it does help us kind of tailor the right avenue for you. The other thing to note is it's our job to help you if you're starting off small, to make sure that we put you into a property that in X amount of years it'll appreciate for you. So we always have the bigger picture in mind when we're working with our clients. Although this is what you can afford today, we know you want to move in 5 years, so we want to make sure that property is not in a declining neighborhood, whatever it may be, that it will appreciate and your equity is continuously growing.
People kind of forget about that because I remember having a few clients where started this job and it's like, okay, depending on their situation, you might want to look at a B lender to kind of get that foot in the door. Some people are like so anti-B lender, and it's like, you know what? Then come back to me in 2 years when you have 2 years history.
We dealt with that a lot, like that conversation during COVID, because I'm going to use Hamilton as an example. So Hamilton had a lot of questionable neighborhoods that grew exponentially in equity in a short period of time. And you had these beautiful properties fully renovated that started to go for a lot. And I would always flag my clients saying, before COVID, this is what the neighborhood was worth. These are going to be the first neighborhoods that are going to be hit once things change, because you have one beautiful property that's fully renovated. The rest of the neighborhood's not there yet. So unless you're willing to stay here for a very long time and watch that neighborhood grow, your investment's not safe, essentially. Yeah. So some people decided to still buy there. Other people said, no, we will kind of go with something a little bit more dated in a nicer neighborhood that we'll know that will keep the appreciation. But just as I said, as soon as things changed, interest rates went up, those were the neighborhoods neighborhoods that their values drop faster than others. So it's something you need to continuously think about. Like, where do you see the trajectory of the community? And will this trend last, or is it just a quick fad?
Right, and I think realtors are the best for that. And to listen to them. Trusted realtor.
Well, you got to create that rapport with them. Like, I can sit and talk about each neighborhood day in and day out. If someone's willing to listen, it's different.
No, the reason why I said that is because I have a friend who bought a place in Hamilton.
Yes. Is it the same friend?
I think so. I think it's the same friend.
Yeah. She didn't buy with me, by the way. I didn't know her then.
I wish he did.
Yeah.
Because I think he would have steered her in a better direction.
So I moved clients out of that neighborhood when she was moving in, and they bought there, and it grew, and we said, okay, we should probably part ways with the neighborhood now. So they made their money, and it was time to move on.
Well, we'll just leave it at that.
She likes it though. She does like her house.
Yeah, she does. And it is a nice house, but it is definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, the neighborhood hasn't gotten there yet.
Yes.
There's hopes for it.
Join me again next Thursday at 2 p.m. I try to go live on LinkedIn. That works and sometimes doesn't. It's a work in progress. It's not easy. It's not like Facebook Live.
I've never tried LinkedIn Live.
So join me next Thursday at 2 p.m. on LinkedIn, where I try to do this live, but not always. Can't make it to that. You can always listen to this on your favorite podcast listening service like Apple and Spotify. And yeah, it's all on there. And check us out.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.